Welcome to the Natural Way of Being video blog. This video is titled Experiential Learning. So I'm going to start by contrasting two different types of learning, and we've been exposed to both of them. The first one I'm going to call conceptual learning, and this is the type of learning that we learned in school. We kind of memorized concepts and then took a test to make sure that we understood them and proved that we had knowledge of the thing we were learning. And this type of learning is very useful for scientific or kind of technical things. I mean, for some tasks, it really does require this intellectually based kind of memorization and intellectually based learning. And largely we're kind of conditioned to learn this way. The whole school system and college and our jobs, you go to trainings and in these types of things. And largely that's what they're teaching us to do, is like it's a step-by-step approach. You learn this and then you learn this and it all kind of conceptually works together so you can do your task. Okay, and our minds, our brains, our intellects love this type of learning, right? It's very rational and it makes sense, and you do this and you do that and then you learn this. Our minds love this type of learning. Okay, well, maybe some of our minds more than others, but for generally speaking, our minds are used to this. It's a kind of a comfort zone for us. So now the second type of learning I want to talk about today, I'm going to call experiential learning. And this type of learning is kind of based on trial and error. It's kind of like we try stuff, it succeeds or it fails, or it's a little too hard, a little too soft, and we make adjustments until it feels right. So this type of learning is more kind of a figuring things out, okay? And usually it involves making mistakes, and that's sometimes not comfortable. It also can be kind of awkward because we don't really know what we're doing. It feels like, especially if we're conditioned, which I'm arguing that we are, if we're conditioned to do conceptual learning, experiential learning kind of feels like we're winging it. We really aren't trained, no one ever really told us how to do it, and you've maybe experienced this, when you didn't feel like you got properly trained to do something at your job. And then it's just like, hello, it would have been good to get some training for this. That's the mind, kind of being uncomfortable with experiential learning. Okay, so a quick story of my mind being frustrated with experiential learning because it wanted to do conceptual learning. So I'm at a meditation retreat, and it's an Adyashanti spiritual teacher, that does these awesome I highly recommend them, by the way, if you ever get a chance to do an Adyashanti meditation retreat. You're usually 5 or 7 days long, but and it's the first morning, and he does this guided meditation, and he guides us into these spaces, and they're kind of more experiential type of spaces. It's like it kind of feels like this and feels like that, and it was great because I could follow his voice and went into these different spaces. And so then it was the afternoon, and there's 3 meditation periods in the afternoon where they're not guided. You just meditate for 40 minutes. So I'm sitting there, and my mind is kind of like, okay, so he kind of sort of told us how to meditate, but not really. He kind of said, just sit as the feeling of pure awareness. It's like, so how do you do that? How the hell do you do that? And my mind was just like frustrated. It's like, okay, well, this is as good as I can. I'll just try to sit as pure awareness. And so that's what I did. And I had these experiences, and I ended up getting a feel for it. It was very frustrating, but eventually I started getting a feel for it. Later in the retreat, Adyashanti finally, we call him Adya, finally fessed up that he did that intentionally. He didn't really tell us how to meditate because he wanted us to feel our way through it. okay? And learn, and in terms of this video, he wanted us to learn it experientially rather than learning it conceptually. And a lot of meditation practices are more of a conceptual approach where you kind of focus on your breathing, and or you have these very specific practices you do. The mind loves those, right? Well, Ajay is saying, look, you get much deeper, much quicker if you kind of feel your way into it and just sense your way into meditating. And like each meditation's a new experience. In a lot of my own spiritual growth and a lot of the work that I'm doing with my clients and my spiritual coaching work that I do with people, it's really starting to require more and more this experiential learning. And like I gave the example of meditation's an example, kind of getting in touch with your intuition is a very experiential, feel your way through it kind of thing. I talk about experiencing a natural way of being, or walking with your heart open. Now here's an example of it. Uses a little of both. It's like when you walk with your heart open, I can give you some guidelines, and there's a little bit of conceptual. I can give you some concepts, and then it kind of points you in a direction, kind of a little like Adyashanti did at the meditation retreat. It's like, try this, but then the largest part of it is experiential learning. That's kind of how this works. It's like, a teacher or a book or something, it kind of points us in a direction, and that can be conceptual. But then for us really to learn it and to really grow with it and embody it or integrate it, we need to kind of roll around with it and kind of play with it and get a feel for it. And our minds really resist this sometimes. And some of us like that more than others. There's some of that, I don't ever know the kind of the fix-it guy that just likes to play with stuff and get it to work. They're going to do better at this than the more analytical mind, So what you can do is, first of all, just understand, maybe, perhaps for you, hopefully not, but perhaps experiential learning is a little out of your comfort zone. And maybe your mind, like mine sometimes, resists it, kind of like I did at the Adyashanti retreat. It just realized, it's like, okay, my mind doesn't like this much, but I need to learn this, so I'm going to try some stuff. I'm going to work with this, and I'm just going to try this and then see if it works. It's like, well, that didn't really work. Okay, now I'm going to try this. Okay, and it's like, seems like that was a little bit too much this way, so I'm going to adjust a little bit, and to just kind of work with it. And I would invite you to try some things that way in your spiritual practice. Have it be kind of like an experiment or a process of discovery. I mean, you hear me say these things if you listen to my videos. It's like, and that's what it's really referring to. It's like, we'll say intimacy. There's a perfect one, like relationships. Okay, so how do you learn it? You can read a book on intimacy, but then it ultimately gets there when you try things. You try exposing yourself and being vulnerable, and then you discover what it's like for the other person. Vulnerability, it takes practice. It's experiential learning. So I just wanted to kind of differentiate these things, and then hopefully, it might make it easier to do it, and that's my hope, and that's my video blog for today. I hope that you experience your week this week and enjoy it and learn some new things. So thanks a lot, and have a great week.